I, female, have been married to my husband for 2 years. He habitually sits in the car for 5 to 10 minutes before entering the house. I don't know why he does it, but he talked about a past traumatic experience he had when he came home and caught his ex cheating on him. Because of that, he'd just spend a few minutes in his car before he enters his home as a response to his trauma. Now, I won't say that he's wrong in coping with what happened, but this has made me feel uneasy, and it's caused many fights between us. For example, when we have guests, he'd sit outside before coming in, or dinner's waiting on him, and he'd take 10 minutes silently sitting in the car. I was worried that something might come up, and he wouldn't respond properly, and it happened last week. My preteen son tripped and fell from the stairs and broke his ankle. He was in so much pain, and I called my husband to take him to the hospital. He rushed out of work, but then I called, and then I was stunned when I looked out the window and saw him sitting outside in his car. I was both shocked and angry. I ran outside and asked how long he had been sitting in the car. He told me around 8 minutes. I asked why he didn't come into the house immediately to help, and he said he would after 2 more minutes. I was so mad and hurt, but tried to rush him, and he insisted he wouldn't feel comfortable coming in until the 10 minutes were up. He told me to get my son ready to take him to the hospital, but I started screaming at him nonstop, telling him this was a family emergency and that he was out of his mind to behave like that. It might not have been my best response, but I was shocked by his behavior and quite concerned because I had this situation always stuck in the back of my mind, thinking what my husband would do when there's a family emergency. I ended up taking my son by myself when my neighbor intervened and offered to take us. We went to the hospital, and later my husband came and tried to talk to me, but I refused. I then went to stay with my mom and texted him that I wanted a divorce. He tried to rationalize and justify what he'd done, saying he couldn't help it and that he was nervous and wanted to help my son but felt stuck. I refused to reply to his messages, and days later, his family literally harassed me, saying I was making my husband's trauma more severe and that I disrespected his boundaries by pushing him off his limits. I feel lost and unable to think because of the whole ordeal. My family's with me on this, but they can be biased sometimes. My husband is still trying to talk me out of divorce, saying I'm making a huge deal out of it. I feel like I no longer trust him, especially when it comes to serious stuff, like how cold he acted in a family emergency. Am I the idiot for divorcing my husband? Added to clarify that my son isn't his biological son. We don't have kids together. He had refused professional help, and his family sided with him. It sounds like he's stuck in compulsive behavior. He needs to find a professional to help him address it. It'll be tough, especially as he let you down when you needed him. I bet he feels really bad about the situation. P.S. I hope your son is doing okay. Yeah, that's not a straight up, need time to prepare myself mentally, or transitions are hard. I'm going to finish listening to this song to delay having to move from A to B. That's a 10 minutes more is the magic number, because if I walk in before that, I'm going to find my wife cheating on me. It's not rational and needs professional intervention. If he's not willing to get that, then he's made his choice. There are no idiots here, though. Sounds like a mental health problem. Doesn't have to be your problem if it's impeding your ability to look after your child. I mean, he could have just called and said, I'm outside. I have no idea if OP could lift the child, but it doesn't seem like he actually had to go inside, making his ritual kind of pointless. The husband is an idiot, and I'm not even sure if it makes sense to me. If someone is cheating, what is 10 minutes supposed to do? Why 10 minutes? Does he expect whoever the hypothetical other guy to be a quick finisher and be out the door? Giving this hypothetical guy time to run away? I'd understand more if his trauma had to do with walking in on violent burglars, but this is just ridiculous behavior. How can the OP trust him around her child? I'm just picturing him collapsed on the floor, having a heart attack, and she calmly looks at her watch and says she needs to wait 10 minutes because she's traumatized by him not helping their son in an emergency. He clearly needs professional help, and if it was me, I'd make it a condition of continuing the relationship. My little sister had her first kid at 15 and her second at 17. They're my kids now. I was their guardian and eventually I adopted them. I didn't want kids, but now I have 3. One biological that was an oops. That was the best mistake I've ever made. I love her more than anyone in the world, except maybe her 2 brothers and my wife. I just want to establish that I do not care how many neck-tattooed deadbeat losers my sister sleeps with. I'm just done cleaning up after her. She's 25 now and pregnant again. Her boyfriend, 47, turned out to be married and bailed when she told him. My parents have pretty much written her off, so she won't be getting anything from them. She came by to cry about her life. I told her that I'd help her out if she terminated and got her tubes tied. She said I was a monster for suggesting that, or that she doesn't have a chance at a family. I agree that I am a monster. On her way out the door, she asked for some gas money. I told her she knew what she had to do to get any help from me. She said that she thought that was for real help, not for $20 for gas. I said if that isn't real help, then she doesn't need it. And I closed the door on her. She's been trying to get me to change my mind for a week, but I'm done. I love that stupid woman, but I will not be a part of her messing up another child. Am I the idiot for telling my sister I will only help her if she gets sterilized? You're not a monster. Your sister is one, though. Giving birth, then abandoning her children is definitely one form of monstrosity. Not the idiot. Instead of sterilizing, maybe use the term spayed. It's most appropriate since she breeds like a feral cat. She's now 25. She's made 2 mistakes and has learned nothing from them. She needs to get fixed. Then she can sleep with everyone she wants, and there won't be an innocent child to be messed up by her mistakes and abandonment. She isn't a teenager anymore. She's 25. She's dating a married guy, 20 plus years older than her, and is surprised that he noped out. Why does she need gas money? Does she not work? She certainly isn't supporting her kids. You're telling her that you will not be adopting this child unless she can show she's changed her ways. She doesn't want to. That's on her, as is figuring out what to do with the current child. I want to put in my 2 cents. The 47-year-old guy knocking up a 25-year-old woman is disgusting. What the heck is he doing? Walking around and having intimacy indiscriminately with apparently no thought to birth control? Just because this idiot doesn't want to be responsible for the baby doesn't mean he isn't. Sister could get herself on the road to redemption by going after that guy for money for the next 20 years. This guy's an idiot, and so is the sister. If men are going to sleep around but do not want half a baby, they should get fixed. It's so easy for men too. My 30 male, youngest sister, teen, came to my workplace to tell me that she was pregnant. I was upset when I heard it because she was so young, and the baby daddy already ditched her. Her environment isn't good for any child to live in. We were basically arguing from the very start before my wife, 26, and son, toddler, arrived. She was confused as to why my sister was there but didn't intervene. She told me she could wait for me to talk to her, so I did. I suggested my sister get a procedure because she can't even take care of herself. She sure as heck can't take care of a baby, but she refused. I didn't want to force her, so I suggested adoption, and she still refused, which annoyed me. I then asked her how she'd care for the baby. She said she'd get a job. I explained that she won't get any legal job at 14, and part-time jobs won't pay enough anyway. I asked her again, but all her responses were that she'd figure it out. We kept going back and forth. I didn't know how to make her realize the situation, so I tried to tell her that it wasn't fair for an innocent child to live with its intoxicated grandparents and its mom struggling. She was quiet after that, then blurted out that I could house her and the baby, since I have a nice house. I didn't refuse her, but I knew I didn't want to take her in either. So I asked her about other expenses. She said again that she'd figure it out later, and that was when I knew she wanted a handout and to depend on me again. So I told her no, I wouldn't take her in. I said she had 3 options. 1, end it. 2, adopt it out. Or 3, keep it but raise it yourself. I also said if she wants to keep it, I can help with some necessities here and there, but I won't raise her baby. She seemed to turn deaf to this part, became defensive, and yelled at me with things like, "You're my brother. You're supposed to help me." Or, "Are you going to leave the baby and me to fend for ourselves? You're heartless." That was when my wife decided to intervene because it had gotten out of hand. My sister seemed to aim her anger at my wife and said, "Mind your own business. You don't even have a job, and he provides for you and your son." And she wasn't done yet. She kept guilt-tripping me, and when I didn't respond, she went back to disrespecting me and my wife. It wasn't until she said something about my wife that made me snap with something more hurtful, which made her cry and stomp out. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Definitely wise to stay out of this mess. She's making a massive mistake. At her age, she pictures having a baby with all the giggles and hair bows. She pictures it like a baby doll. She has no freaking clue what the reality is going to be. You need to stay out of it. Hopefully, even if she goes ahead and has this baby, she'll realize very quickly that she's in over her head and she'll release it for adoption. She doesn't realize that she's about to ruin her life. Any help you offer her will only enable her to make that ruin actually become a reality. Agreed, but I still have questions. The baby daddy had already ditched her. Does this mean he skipped town and sped away? Or did he pedal away as fast as his BMX could carry him? Because one of them means that OP's sister needs to tell the cops, and the other means she needs to tell his parents. That's a good point. How old is the baby's father? If the sister is really serious about raising this baby, she needs to go after child support. But I have a feeling she will ditch the baby at your doorstep at some point. Tell her that if she tries to dump the baby on you, you'll be calling CPS and surrendering the child. I hope you can at least ensure that she applies to all the programs that'll help her get the best medical care, no matter what she does. This is all to say, remove yourself from the situation. She thinks she's an adult, and you can't change her mind. I've seen it firsthand. However, if you get any thought that your soon-to-be niece or nephew could be in danger, call CPS. She has a tough road ahead of her. I feel bad for her. And her entitlement is going to do the opposite of getting her help. I am a single gay man who adopted 2 boys, who are now pre-tween and tween. Initially, most people automatically assume I'm straight and divorced, but eventually, they find out that I'm neither. I downplay my kids' adoption because I don't want my kids to feel different from their peers, since no one in their circle of peers is adopted. I find it to be a personal circumstance and no one's business. I believe adoption is a beautiful thing. However, the reality is that most adopted kids come from unfortunate situations, and those situations can stigmatize adopted kids. People who don't have adopted kids don't understand that because they view the world through their lens and how the world should be and not how it really is. My kids are very happy and have a ton of friends. Last month, a gay couple moved on the block, and they have 3 adopted boys who are within the same age range as my kids. The more I got to know Mike and Dave, the more I disliked them. However, my kids like their kids, so I let it be. Recently, my kids stopped playing with Mike and Dave's kids because they grew uncomfortable being asked about their own adoption by Mike and Dave and other people who had never asked before. My kids don't want to compare and contrast their adoption experiences for adult entertainment and curiosity and then be judged. This led to simmering anger towards me. Eventually, it came out when my tween declined to attend their son's birthday party. Actually, no one showed up. They told me that they were so disappointed that I, as a gay man and dad, didn't show support to their family by coming to their kid's party. I told them up front that just because we have a couple of things in common, we're not bonded, and I owe them nothing. They asked what they did to me, and I said nothing. I'm just not comfortable with how you use your kids as clout. The way you put them on social media, like showing off a Porsche and reminding everyone that you're a gay adoptive family. Yes, my kids are adopted too, but they don't want to be around people who want to constantly remind them of it and remind them of trauma. That invites people who know nothing about us to start lecturing, shaming, or giving unsolicited advice. By all means, overshare your kids' personal information and draw attention to them. But my family is the opposite. They're happy being Jesse and Matt, who like Minecraft, hockey, and cooking, not those two adopted kids adopted by that gay guy. Am I the idiot for telling adoptive parents I owe them nothing? Not the idiot. You're a good father, OP. You're raising your kids with good values. It's unfortunate that your neighbors, Mike and Dave, are using social media to parade their kids around for everyone to know they've been adopted by a gay couple. Those kids may grow to resent them when they're older for the unnecessary attention drawn to their personal lives. You did the right thing, staying away from Mike and Dave. I will always feel bad for the kid whose party no one shows up for. OP, your kids don't like being questioned about being adopted. That couple drove your kids away with their questions and comparisons, and now you're supposed to make them go to show support? Nah, mate, you don't owe them anything. You only owe your kids your support, and you did that just from the sound of it. So 10 out of 10 on the dadding. My wife, 34, and I, 34 male, have been married for 9 years, and we have a preteen boy. A couple of years ago, my wife confessed that she had a one-night stand with her ex when he had come to town the previous week. I was devastated, and I really didn't see any path to reconciliation, but I also had to take my son into account. My wife was extremely remorseful, and she could have kept her infidelity hidden forever, but she didn't. I was still extremely sad and resentful, but my wife took all possible steps to reconciliation. It's been 2 years, and I can say that I'm at a stage where I've almost forgiven my wife because she's pretty much done everything possible in the past 2 years to show how much she loves me. Over the past few months, I've been saving for a trip to Europe with my son. My sister had settled abroad in Finland, and she said she would show me around Europe. I was initially 50-50 on whether I wanted my wife to come with us on the trip because I still had slight resentment from her infidelity a couple of years ago. My sister, however, was completely against me bringing my wife to the trip, and she wanted this to be more of a sibling bonding time. She's not on speaking terms with my wife ever since I told her about my wife's infidelity, and she said she'd feel extremely uncomfortable if I brought my wife along with me. Considering all of the above, I decided to book the tickets and plan the trip for only my son and me. I let my wife know all of the reasons I didn't want her to come with us on the trip. My wife accepted it, but she seems extremely sad over the past few months. My son and I are going to leave for Finland next week. Am I the idiot for not taking my wife along with me on the trip? Are you going to keep doing this for the rest of your life? Planning things, then dangling them over her head while saying she can't come because she cheated? How's that fair to either one of you? If you choose to stay with someone and actually want to repair the relationship, then you do have to stop punishing them for it eventually. I agree. Leaving your wife at home alone for a month will likely indicate that you will never forgive her. If I were her, I'd use the whole time OP's gone to consult an attorney. She made a mistake, and OP chose to stay with her, but going on a family vacation without her would just underscore to her the marriage is over. One added note, OP, many foreign countries require a certified letter from both parents if both are not traveling with the minor. If she refuses, you may not be able to visit all the countries you're planning to visit with your son. Oversalting a dish is a mistake. Cheating is not. But I agree he should either reconcile or, if he's not able to, divorce. Stringing someone along is just unnecessary cruelty. Dude, you're almost ready to forgive her? No, you haven't forgiven her, and you won't. You really should divorce.